Master Gu hovered over Hao Mao, and he said that a mere advanced sacred realm cultivator could only amount to that. He stated that since he had been there to seek justice, he should remember clearly that in the Taoist Immortal Palace, his word had been justice. Hao Mao was enraged as he told Master Gu not to dare to try to bully them like that because Gu Zioner had killed those of the Sea Palace first. He criticized Master Gu for trying to act like a good person and unreasonably preventing them from seeking justice for Gu Zioner's actions. He also added that everyone knew that there was a year when he had some kind of conflict with Gu Zioner, and it was something that brought shame to the Gu family. So, he asked Master Gu if he was trying to avoid responsibility for what he had done that year by standing up for Gu Zioner at that moment. Master Gu looked at Gu Zioner behind him as he started to recall what had happened that year. Gu Zioner was surprised and speechless when Master Gu landed in front of her, saying that there was no reason why he would not dare to admit it because that was something he had done himself, and it had nothing to do with the Gu family. He would take the opportunity to end the discourse that day. Gu Zioner's eyes widened in surprise as Master Gu dug into his chest, admitting that he had snatched his younger sister's Dao bone due to his youthful folly, so he would just return it to her at that moment. Gu Nanshan, who had been observing from a different space, was also surprised by what Master Gu had done. Hao Mao was also taken aback by what Master Gu had just done, and he was lost for words. Gu Zioner was shaking as Master Gu said that the Dao bone originally belonged to her, but he had taken it from her, thus causing her to be exiled from home. He admitted that he and the family were all guilty of doing such a thing to her, so he would take the chance that day to return what he owed to Gu Zioner in front of everyone. While blood was dripping from the corners of his mouth, Master Gu apologized to Gu Zioner for making her suffer for so long. Gu Zioner bit her lip, trying to suppress the pool of tears that were gathering in her eyes, but she couldn't suppress it, and she cried her eyes out, telling Master Gu to stop talking because she already had a new Dao bone, so she didn't need his. But Master Gu did not listen to Gu Zioner, and he ripped the Dao bone out of his chest. The people around witnessed that the Dao bone had such a terrifying amount of talent that it could even affect nature itself. They said that the Dao bone was so strong that it was no wonder that Master Gu had attacked Gu Zioner back then. Master Gu handed the Dao bone to Gu Zioner, and he said that the piece of Dao bone had finally been returned to its master. Gu Zioner's eyes widened in surprise when she noticed something. She became worried about Master Gu upon seeing the hole in his chest. But Master Gu told her not to worry about him because it was merely just a matter of digging out a bone. Gu Zioner said nothing, and her face was filled with worry because she knew clearly how that had felt. The system notified Master Gu that he had successfully resolved the Fortune's chosen daughter, Gu Zioner's, hatred towards him, and he had received fortune and fate points for it. While Master Gu said that as Gu Zioner's older brother, he would repay her for all that she had suffered outside and that it was their Gu family's private matter, so there was no need for Hao Mao to worry about it. Red strings of aura oozed out of him, and Hao Mao immediately recognized it, surprised that Master Gu had master reincarnation energy. The guards looked frightened, and one of them said that Master Gu had such terrifying strength to be able to heal such grievous injuries in an instant. Another one added that it seemed that Master Gu had more tricks up his sleeve other than the Dao bone. The other guard confirmed with the others if Master Gu had been at the quasi-god realm before entering the ancient immortal lands because to him, it felt like Master Gu was much stronger than them at the moment. Master Gu wiped the blood off the corners of his mouth, and he said that Gu Zioner was their Changsheng Gu family's pride, and what the Sea Palace had done that day was considered a challenge to the Changsheng Gu family in his eyes. He asked Hao Mao if he had been prepared to die for it. Hao Mao was pissed, and he said that he didn't care that Master Gu had reincarnation energy because if he hadn't considered the relationship between their two clans, there was no way an advanced sacred realm cultivator like him would have lost out to Master Gu. Master Gu smirked, and he made a snide remark about what Hao Mao had just said about him being an advanced sacred realm cultivator. Master Gu bowed at the sky, and it cracked as he asked Gu Nanshan what he thought of the situation. The crack in the sky shattered, and Gu Nanshan came out of the hole. Gu Nanshan glowered at the people below him, and he declared that no one from the Sea Palace would be allowed to leave the place on that day. Gu Nanshan stepped onto the ground, and Hao Mao was surprised to see him. Hao Mao panicked, and he quickly opened the scroll from earlier, requesting that their king protect them. An image of the Sea King emerged from the scroll, and as he asked if the Gu family no longer cared about their reputation and face because they bullied the old and the young as well, Hao Mao requested that the king save him. Suddenly, Gu Nanshan summoned a weapon in his hand. He charged forward, telling Hao Mao that he had a useless technique, but Master Gu stopped him and requested that he wait. Gu Nanshan came to an abrupt halt, and his feet skidded on the ground. In an annoyed manner, he asked Master Gu what he wanted. Master Gu said that he just wanted to remind him to be careful not to flatten the entire ancient city of immortal heavens because the Great Elder would be angry. And Gu Nanshan told him that he should tell him that earlier next time and did not interrupt him while he was trying to use a technique, to which Master Gu playfully agreed. The Sea King said that the Sea Palace had no intention of becoming enemies with the Gu family as long as they handed over Gu Zioner. Gu Nanshan got mad, and he told the Sea King to shut up, questioning him who he was to act up that way in front of the Gu family. Gu Nanshan created a huge aura slash. The people of the Sea Palace were swiftly thrown into the air, and their bodies were sliced into pieces. Their battle flag was torn into pieces as well. 3 days later, snow poured down and covered the roof of a building. Gu Zioner stared intently at Master Gu, and Master Gu told her that if she had something to tell him, she should just say it already. Gu Zioner blushed as she asked Master Gu what his motives were and if he was trying to trick her again because he dug out his Dao bone just to return it to her. And he proceeded to ignore her for 3 days, so she couldn't figure out what he was trying to do. Master Gu was surprised that Gu Zioner was questioning him over that matter, and he said that she really disappointed him because instead of working hard on her cultivation, there she was, wasting her time on useless things. Master Gu asked Gu Zioner if she was not feeling motivated to cultivate anymore and if she needed him to be kind and help remove her new Dao bone as well. This enraged Gu Zioner, and she told Master Gu to stop trying to act like he had good intentions because other people might not know him well. But that wasn't the first time she had gotten to know him, and she knew that he was just a backstabbing, scheming bastard. What Gu Zioner said had hit a nerve, and Master Gu asked her if she thought that he couldn't have beaten her still because he had made that Taoist heart pledge. He pointed out that she had become braver, so she should have watched out a little more or he might have just kicked her into the toilet. Gu Zioner had also gotten mad at what Master Gu had dared to say, and while she had attacked him with a kick, she had said that he was the one that needed to be kicked. Master Gu had taken a simple side step. He had been able to dodge Gu Zioner's attack effortlessly, and he had told her that she had been childish. Master Gu had raised his foot to attack Gu Zioner. He had kicked Gu Zioner so hard that she had been launched into the air, and Gu Zioner had screamed, declaring that Master Gu should just wait because she would definitely beat him up one day. On the other hand, a messenger had been reporting to Yilangshan, Yilu Lai, and Auntie Zhu about what had happened in the ancient city of immortal heavens. Yilangshan had said that he had never thought that Master Gu would have had such a past. Yilu Lai had also pointed out that Master Gu had probably really loved Gu Zioner to be able to dig out his Dao bone to return it back to her, and she had asked Yilangshan if the Sea Palace would start fighting with the Chengsheng Gu family. Auntie Zhu had chimed in, and she had told Yilangshan that she hadn't thought the Sea Palace would because they hadn't had the courage to fight the Gu family face to face. Yilangshan had agreed that she had been right, unless the Sea King's mind had gone completely insane. Meanwhile, at the Sea Palace, the Sea King had been enraged, and he had said that the Sea Palace had never experienced such humiliation in all of those years. Someone who had seemed to be the Sea King's assistant had told him that as long as he had commanded it, he would have gathered the elites of their sea people and fought the Chengsheng Gu family to show them how capable they were, and they would have let them know that they couldn't be offended that easily either. The Sea King had given it some thought, and he had said that his boundless Dharma clone had been destroyed with just a single strike by Gu Nanshan. He had let out a sigh, and he had admitted that he had been afraid of the result if they had really fought the Gu family. His assistant had told him that the entire sea had been at his disposal, and that there had been countless clans of the sea that would have fought for the glory of serving their clan, so a mere ancestor of the Gu family might not have been able to rise against the entire strength of their clan. Suddenly, the Sea King and his assistant were surprised when the ground shook and rock fragments started to fall into the palace. The Sea King was alarmed when he recognized that the aura was from Gu Nanshan. Meanwhile, at the celestial Wushuang dynasty, a messenger was reporting to Yueminkang about what had happened in the ancient immortal city of heavens. He reported the details about how Master Gu had said that he would kill the entire clan of whoever tried to take advantage of Gu Zioner, and how he had dug out that piece of Dao bone in front of everyone from the Sea Palace, after which Yueminkang told him that he could leave, and he immediately agreed. Yueminkang was deep in thought, and she wondered what Master Gu had been thinking because the current him was both like him and unlike him. She was no longer able to see through him. She recalled that in her previous life, Gu Zioner had ended up dying tragically. With a somber look on her face, Yueminkang thought that the current Master Gu had completely changed from her memories of him because, whether it had been how he handled Gu Zioner's issue or her issue, if Master Gu had wished to harm her, he wouldn't have done all that in the first place. She thought that she had been too foolish and had just realized that Master Gu loved her as well. Yu Mingkong looked determined, and she thought that she didn't care anymore because if she had been wrong, that meant that it had been her fate for it to happen. So from that moment forward, even if she were to fight against all of heaven, she would stand by Master Gu's side. She recalled that in her previous life, after leaving the ancient immortal lands, the Sea Palace had started to threaten Gu Zioner, so she had been eradicated by her clan's ancestor, and they had ended up locking themselves up in their palace for thousands of years, after which, the Extremian sky had started to descend, and that had caused individuals from all factions and palaces to come to the Immortal Academy with the goal of cultivating the next true immortal. In her recollection, with the appearance of the Extremian sky, the ancestors of humanity had started to appear as well. According to legends, each time a calamity that would cause the end of the world appeared, humanity's ancestors would resurface to save the world. Instead of dying, they would continuously live on in the reincarnation cycle to save humanity from danger. Yu Mingkong believed that once the reincarnation of humanity's ancestor awoke, they would inherit the strength of humanity's ancestor. She realized that with Master Gu's strength and status, he was not powerful enough to fight against humanity's ancestor. So, she needed to think of ways to delay their awakening. Yu Mingkong decreed to her people that the celestial Wushwang dynasty would attempt to create a Wushwang guard. Anyone with strong talent was free to apply and receive protection from the celestial Wushwang dynasty. She instructed them to pass this down, and her people immediately agreed. Yu Mingkong recalled that the Wushwang guards were an ultimate weapon that Master Gu had asked her to create through the birth and fortune technique. This technique turned soldiers into killing puppets because they could share their health and lives with others who received damage. She thought that creating the Wushwang guards a little earlier would allow her to assist Master Gu. Meanwhile, snow continued to pour into a brightly lit room. Master Gu meditated inside the room, with the divine spirits illuminating it. He believed that the Great Elder was still too kind. The Dragon Clan had been given a few days to consider their future, but Master Gu was displeased because they had used the time to try and convert other factions to their side. On the other hand, Hai Ming was having a meal with two people. One of them reported to him everything he knew about the Dragon Clan's news and asked him to share the divine scripture. The other agreed, asking how he could forget to share something so valuable and adding that their alligator clan would remember that favor. Hai Ming drunkenly smiled and told them not to worry because he would definitely share everything. He didn't think that the omnipotent supreme monarch would mind. Master Gu smiled and agreed in his thoughts. He just didn't think that he would generously share the paving way immortal arts with others, saving him a lot of time. Master Gu closed his eyes as he absorbed the divine spirits. He said that since the ancient immortal dragon clan was seeking their own demise, he would fulfill their wishes. He grinned sinisterly and declared that it was time for the alligator clan to meet their master. The guards of the alligator clan were talking. One of them mentioned that he had received news from the Black Heavenly Eagle that the divine scripture was amazing because within just 10 days, he had managed to break through the bottleneck that had held him for 10 years. His companion laughed, saying that those guys from the Black Heavenly Eagle really thought they could hide from them to cultivate. They mentioned that their young master was the clever one because with just 2 glasses of wine, he had managed to deceive the divine scripture from the Black Heavenly Eagle. One of the guards said that after learning the divine scripture, his cultivation speeds had increased by leaps and bounds. He wondered where Hai Ming had obtained the divine scripture, but as he was about to continue his small talk, his companion was alarmed and interrupted him, saying that someone was approaching. It was Master Gu, and he asked the guards if they would mind sharing with him what had made both of them so happy. One of the guards asked who he was and how dared he try to break into the divine crocodile clan's ancestral land. But the other guard was nervous as he recognized Master Gu, asking him why he had come to their clan. Master Gu was amused that one of the guards recognized him, and he said that it made things so much simpler. He asked them to call their clan leader out to welcome their new master. The guards were enraged at what Master Gu had just said. Suddenly, the clan leader came out of a warp in space, and he told Master Gu that he really was someone who was arrogant and disrespectful of others for barged into his clan's ancestral lands and arrogantly claimed to be their clan's master. While showing the reincarnation aura in the palm of his hand, Master Gu said that he had simply come to take back something of his. He couldn't understand why they were saying that he was disrespectful and arrogant. The clan leader was surprised when he recognized the reincarnation energy, and the people from the Divine Crocodile clan could not believe that Master Gu was actually the reincarnation Heavenly Emperor's successor. Master Gu asked them if they still felt that he was too arrogant and instructed them to obey him so they would live. The clan leader was speechless, and he was weighing the situation carefully. but he replied that they would never obey. So the people from the Divine Crocodile clan quickly charged towards Master Gu, saying that they didn't care if he was the successor of the Reincarnation Heavenly Emperor. Their clan would never submit to him, and he shouldn't even have dared to think about it. Master Gu glared at them and said that they were foolish. The veins of the people from the Divine Crocodile clan started to pop, and they groaned in pain. They were all unable to move, and those who were charging towards Master Gu quickly fell to the ground like flies. The clan leader thought that Master Gu had used the slave mark, and one of his people was surprised that Master Gu had been able to use the slave mark that easily. Thinking that the paving way immortal art's controlling effects were almost as good as the slave mark itself, Master Gu asked the Divine Crocodile clan if there was still anyone who was unwilling to bow to him. The clan leader quickly went down on his knees and announced that from that day forward, they would be willing to serve Master Gu as their master. The rest of the clan followed what the clan leader did, and they also said that they were willing to serve Master Gu. The clan leader bowed his head and said nothing. Suddenly, he told Master Gu that he had some information about the ancient Flying Serpent clan, and he asked Master Gu if he wished to hear some of it. Master Gu was amused that the clan leader had already sold out his comrades, and he agreed for the clan leader to tell him about the information. The clan leader said that after what had happened at the reincarnation platform the last time, the ancient Flying Serpent clan most likely knew something. Recently, they had been gathering forces for their clan, and he was afraid that it was to prepare themselves for a fight against Master Gu. Master Gu asked the clan leader if what he was saying was that the ancient Flying Serpent clan was planning to completely revolt against him, and the clan leader confirmed that what he said was right because the entire ancient Flying Serpent clan was known for being extremely stubborn. A few moments later, Master Gu arrived at the ancient Flying Serpent clan with the clan leader of the Divine Crocodile clan, and the people of the ancient Flying Serpent clan immediately bowed to him, saying that they had been waiting for him for a long time because everyone in their clan had decided to willingly work for him and obey his every command. As the people from the ancient Flying Serpent clan requested that Master Gu lead their clan, strengthen it, and allow them to witness a more prosperous era, the clan leader from the Divine Crocodile clan could not believe what he was seeing. Master Gu roasted the clan leader of the Divine Crocodile clan for saying earlier that the ancient Flying Serpent clan was extremely stubborn, and the clan leader was not able to say anything. He just laughed awkwardly. Upon hearing what Master Gu had just said, the elder of the ancient Flying Serpent clan thought that he might be stubborn, but he was not stupid, and he would never let their clan become the next feathered clan. The clan leader of the Divine Crocodile clan told Master Gu that since he had managed to tame the ancient Flying Serpent clan, he wanted to know what his next orders were. Master Gu thought for a moment, then grinned, announcing that he would build an army. After a while, a mysterious man observed Master Gu's ships as they traversed through the mountain ranges. The mysterious man unveiled his hood and said that with how much commotion Master Gu was causing, the changes in the ancient immortal lands were finally coming to a close. An elder appeared beside him, saying that Master Gu was quite the clever schemer because he believed that Master Gu planned to take over the entire ancient immortal lands before he even entered the place. The guy said that he heard that Master Gu had sent the Taoist Immortal Palace's great elder to the Dragon Clan for peace talks, but for some reason, the Dragon Clan's ancestor fought with the first elder. He said that it had caused the entire Dragon Clan to be razed to the ground, and the Dragon Clan's ancestor was also killed by the Great Elder. But in light of their past friendship, he spared the rest of the clan. It was just a pity that Master Gu didn't let the people of the Dragon Clan go, as the Elder said that the Dragon Clan had earned their deaths because they didn't give face to the Great Elder. The guy asked him if Master Gu was really aiming to rule over the ancient immortal land, and the Elder responded that even if Master Gu didn't want to, he would probably have to after everything that had happened. The guy grinned, saying that Master Gu was a terrifying man, and he wondered who would win if he were to fight with his older sister. The elder told the guy not to be foolish because comparing the two of them would be humiliating his sister, as his sister's talent was the strongest that they had ever seen. He said that she had been selected by the Humanity Ancestors Palace as their successor because she was born an immortal, but the downside was her temper that she had had since she was little. The elder remembered the guy's sister's tantrum when she was little. She was cursing them for betrothing her to someone when she was not even an adult, asking them what they were thinking. And she called them old bastards, asking them if they thought that she wouldn't beat them up like mobs in a game. The memory just made the elder sigh and wonder what they had ever done to suffer like that. On the other hand, at the Humanity Ancestors Palace, a huge amount of aura oozed out of it. The source of the aura was inside a room, A lady reported to the saintess who was the source of the aura, saying that Saintess Zijin had left the heavenly city, and that Zijin had instructed her to bring word to her. The saintess told the lady to speak and asked her what Zijin had asked her to say. The lady told the saintess that Zijin had said that she had no interest in finding the reincarnation of humanity's ancestor, and that she had also said that the humanity ancestor's palace had cheated her. So, she said that she didn't want to be a saintess anymore and that she simply wanted to find a man she was satisfied with to marry. The saintess landed on the ground. She said that what Zijin had said was a ridiculous notion because once someone joined the humanity ancestor's palace, they would forever belong to it. Finding the reincarnation of humanity's ancestor and supporting the ancestor to bring peace to the world was every successor's duty and honor. The saintess thought that according to the prophecy, the humanity ancestor's reincarnation would be born soon. So, it looked like she would have to leave the palace soon because the inheritor of demonic arts had appeared once again in the current era. It would bring terrible calamities along with them, so she could find them first and kill them. Meanwhile, a floating carriage traversed through the mountain ranges and was chased by cavalry. The driver of the carriage was just calmly operating it. Suddenly, a girl opened the window of the carriage, telling the cavalry to stop trying to escort them and to tell their young master to stop chasing her mistress because their young lady wasn't interested in him at all. The leader of the cavalry told the girl, Zoer, that their young master had commanded them to do the escorting, so they didn't have a choice. He requested that they not trouble them. Zoer was pissed, and she told the cavalry that Zhao Tianxing was such an awful bastard that he should just give up. She said that her young miss had so many suitors in the heavenly city that Zhao Tianxing shouldn't even dare to think that he would be able to have a spot amongst them. The leader looked concerned, and he told Zoer that Zhao Tianxing was the future ruler of the ancient immortal Zhao clan. He thought that she had been a bit too harsh on him. One of the soldiers also agreed with their leader, and he said that Zhao Tianxing really loved the saintess. That was why he had arranged for them to escort her, as he had been afraid that someone would try something against the saintess while she was on her way. So, even if he hadn't managed to do anything for her, at least he had been trying. Suddenly, an aura oozed out of the carriage, and the saintess told the cavalry that they had been the ones trying to scheme something against her. Therefore, they should get lost before she lost her temper. The cavalry was surprised when sharp auras were pointed at them. The aura turned into swords, and Zijin, the saintess inside the carriage, instructed the cavalry to tell Zhao Tianxing that if he did something like that in the future, she would promise him that even if the heavenly emperor came, he wouldn't be able to save Zhao Tianxing from her. The driver of the carriage laughed, and he told the cavalry that since Zijin was not willing, they should all go. Zijin was annoyed, and she cursed Zoer's mother, calling her a fucking bitch. She said that she really hated it when people tried to emotionally blackmail her. Zoer asked her what emotional blackmail was. Zijin hesitated to explain what it meant to Zoer, and tried to stall answering it. Zijin's carriage continued to travel above the mountain ranges. Zijin explained what emotional blackmail was to Zoer by giving her an example. She said that, for instance, a guy had given her a flower and invited her to dinner, but he had instead said that because he treated her to such things, she had to marry him. She asked Zoer if she would have been willing to do that, to which Zoer responded that she would absolutely not, and Zijin said that what she had said was right. But Zoer started counting, saying that it had been far too little to treat her to just one dinner, and the guy should have treated her to 10 or 100 dinners. Only then would she have agreed to marry him.